I would like to thank the organizing committee, especially Dr. Ramakrishnan, allow me to be virtually together with all you guys on the wonderful meeting of PCSI this year. So this is my disclosure. So we know exactly more than 30 years now about the morphology of the ductus. They divided into at least 5 types, from A to E. But just recently, there were just having additional morphology add, which was the phenotype, which means it's a bit long, wide, and also tortuous. So this most of the time happen when the patient has it's a prematurity or in a PDA in a small babies. So the evolution of the occluders, as you can appreciate, that is starting from 1967, and that was before I was born. And just recently coming out on the way, there are a lot of inventions coming, and many of them has been very useful, especially for the very specific small infants or babies. So as just to remind you that when we discuss about the PDA closure, we need to at least measure 3 kind of things. First one is the diameter at the ampulla, and second one is the diameter at the pumping end, and last but not least, the distance. And that is important. Those are important because we have to use this kind of measurements in order to select the device. So single disc device, occluders. Normally, we use that in order to stent the duct. It means that if we measure the diameter, we need to oversizing it a bit, maybe 2 to 4 millimeters, just to make sure that the device is nicely fit into the ductus without moving. So here's some example comparison to the AD01 type device. Well, actually, this is Ampersand duct occluder 1, and this is the PDAR from PFM. You can appreciate that the mechanism of this device is just to stent it, especially at the waist. And just few years back, not few years, but more than 5 years now, the Oct, they also did invent some different shape of the single disc device. It's a reverse cone shaped device, and they design into the standard one and also the long one in order to make sure that all types of the ductus can be use this kind of the device to close. So, but it's not completely available. Useful for all the ductus that we have been treating so far. So that's why they also have the double disc device available in the market. And the typical one would be AD02. As you can see, there's no patch at all, but they use the 5-nitinol wedge, Y mesh, in order to create the thrombogenesis. And but unfortunately, that this type of device, the largest diameter was just the 6 millimeter. So the principle of using this device is not to stent, but to embrace the duct. What does it mean, embracing it? It means that if you use for the conical one, saccular one, elongated one, it should be fine if there's some constriction. But if you deal with the window type or the tubular type, that sometimes may be not very useful. This device, especially if it's large and also it's very high flow. So AD02 is good if you can use with the ductus having some constriction and also have some length, especially at the ampulla. So measurements here for the AD02, you need to add one more thing, which is here, which is C means the center point, because you need to match this kind of diameter to the diameter of the device. So here's an example of using AD02. Maybe some of you very get used to that, but just to share with you again that the principle of this device is not to put the waist at the waist. Straight part should not be at the waist, but straight part should actually be at the ampulla. So with that, it will be more stabilizing and more thrombogenesis. So this is fine, but actually this is not a perfect one, I would say. So you can manipulating it by just just pull the pushing the waist, the body just a little bit away from the pulmonary end, and then you can appreciate, sorry, that is not running well, but the ampulla here has been completely abolished the flow by using this middle waist. Oh, here you can see it. Right. So and a part of that, recently, as a previous speaker, the last session mentioned about using the ADO2 AS or the Amplus Piccolo device. Again, this is FDA approved for small babies, especially prematurity in the US, and now it's available, I think, everywhere around the world. Again, just to emphasize that this is also the principle is to stent the duct, and sometimes you need to oversize it in order to make sure it won't embolize in moving backward or forward. But the point we need to be very careful is about the obstruction of the LPA and also descending aortic flow. So other occluders for PDA, these kind of thing are not, it's kind of off-label use, I would say. So it means you may use this double disc device for a large hypertensive or the tubular duct, and you may use the duct occluder like AVP2 in the unusual duct appearance, or in small babies also the MVP, ADO2, AVP2, or even microplug, which is just coming from the Kurtz Amplus medical company, also useful. So here's some example, just like to show you. We're dealing with 19 years old with large PDA. Sildenafil has been given for more than 6 months pre-procedure. It's just to prime the PVR. And then we use a balloon test occlusion just to make sure that we know the size, the diameter of the waist properly. And also at the same time, we know exactly how the pulmonary artery is going to behave after we put the device in. And that's very clear that after we block the ductal flow, the pressure on the pulmonary artery decrease significantly. So with that, we are quite happy to put the device in. So initially it started with the muscular VSD, but it's quite not that long in comparison to the length of the ductus, and also the waist. The disc here is a little bit borderline in terms of the grasping of the ductus, which is very high flow. So when we try to do the wiggle, and it's actually, you can see that the device is completely back into the pulmonary artery. So that's one of the reasons why we decide to put the bigger device, 22 millimeter, and also we add a little bit more on the disc on both sides in order to make sure that device gonna stay there forever. So so that is the thing that we need to be concerned sometimes. We do have to deal with the stability of the device, but also we have to deal with the somehow the obstruction of the flow. Well, for this patient, the descending aorta, there's no issue, but for the pulmonary artery there's a partially obstructed the flow, but there's no gradient at that time. And actually, I think we believe that with this kind of device, it's more stabilizing, and hope that LPA flow, which is diminishing, should not be the problem. Again, you need to also think about doing some a little bit of exploring if you deal with a very hypertensive duct, like a Shiva Kumar did, published a few years back. So he put the device in, muscular device, but because of that kind of fluctuation of the peer pressure, so that's why he decided to put the fenestration by putting the coronary stent inside the duct muscular VSD that he just implanted. ASO, you can use that. It's good because you have a great a waist to a great disc to grab, but unfortunately there is an issue of residual shunt and obstruction of the LPA, so we need to be very careful on that. And also the AVP2, when you deal with small child, just to share with you that this is tubular one, very hypertensive in high flow, and then they put the AVP2 and they stay there without gelling of the LPA and also DAO. Again, this one is good, but the risk of the embolization is more or less not equal to the disc, like double disc occluder or the even a single disc occluder. And last but not least, just to share with you, I don't have my own experience, but just to share with you that they also have the microvascular plug or even micro plug published in the literatures, showing that this is quite very good device to deal with small babies, especially in premature ductus. Right, and again, this is a lot of publication. There's a lot of publication coming, and I won't go through this definitely, but just to share with you that even in small babies, using the duct occluder, a different kind of thing that can be feasible and also very acceptable in terms of the complication. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to propose that the ADO1 is applicable for most PDA in children and adults, but also at the moment with more available device options, large PDA or PDA in prematurity or small infants can be safely and also successfully treated by what we have on the shelves at the moment. So thank you very much indeed. Hope you enjoy.